Have you ever noticed something that feels confusing at first, almost unfair? The more you give, the more available you are, the more you try to show up for someone, the more distant he sometimes becomes. And I know how frustrating that can feel because, from your perspective, you're doing everything right. You're being supportive, you're being understanding, you're being emotionally present, you're making space, you're giving effort, and still, something shifts. He starts replying slower. He becomes less expressive. He feels less present. Or worse, he feels like he's slowly pulling away while you're trying to pull closer. And then you look around and you see something that makes no sense. Someone else gives less effort, texts less, explains less, tries less. And yet the man in her life seems more invested, more attentive, more emotionally engaged. So what is actually going on here? Because the truth is, male emotional attachment doesn't always grow in the way most people assume. It's not simply built through constant availability or constant emotional output. In many cases, connection deepens through space, through effort, through perceived value, and through the feeling that something is earned, not simply given without friction. Let's break this down in a way that actually reflects real-life dynamics, not theory. Imagine a simple picture. Think of a woman as having her own space, her life, her emotional world, her standards, her direction. And think of a man on the outside of that space, deciding whether he wants to step in. Between him and that space is something like a bridge. Now here's where it becomes interesting. In the beginning of connection, he is the one building that bridge. He is the one initiating. He is the one texting first. He is the one trying to impress. He is the one trying to get closer, figure you out, understand your world. And the effort he puts into building that connection matters more than people realize, because effort creates investment. Now imagine two scenarios. In the first scenario, he builds that bridge slowly. He has to think, to plan, to show consistency. He has to overcome hesitation. He has to keep showing up over time, not just once. In the second scenario, everything is immediate. Access is instant. Emotional closeness is automatic. There is no resistance, no pacing, no sense of earning the connection. If a storm comes in both scenarios, emotional stress, life pressure, confusion, insecurity, which bridge do you think holds stronger? The one that was built with steady effort and investment? Not because one person is better than the other, but because attachment strengthens through accumulated effort. Now here's where many real situations get complicated. Sometimes, when there is silence in communication, when he hasn't reached out for a while, or he's processing something internally, that space feels uncomfortable. And instead of allowing that space to exist, there is a natural impulse to step in, to message, to clarify, to reconnect, to fill the gap immediately. But what that can sometimes do is interrupt the very process that builds his emotional pull. Because in that moment, he was still in the process of leaning forward, thinking, deciding, missing, processing. And sudden over-access can unintentionally reset that emotional tension back to neutral. This is where emotional patience becomes important. Not patience in the sense of waiting endlessly or tolerating inconsistency without boundaries, but patience in the sense of allowing emotional processes to unfold without rushing to control the outcome. There is a difference between healthy response and emotional interruption. Healthy response is grounded. It observes. It waits for clarity. It communicates when needed. Emotional interruption is reactive. It fills silence too quickly. It assumes meaning before time has shown it. It tries to fix uncertainty immediately. And in real relationships, timing matters as much as intention. Now, another layer to understand is this. Connection isn't just built through proximity. It's also built through value perception. When someone feels that your presence is meaningful, not endlessly available, it changes how they engage with it. Not because you are withdrawing love, but because value is often perceived through balance, not excess. At the same time, relationships are not a one-way structure. There are moments where meeting in the middle is necessary. There are moments where you move toward each other. There are moments where repair happens together. Healthy connection is flexible. It adapts. But the key distinction is this. Flexibility should come from awareness, not from emotional overreaction. Meaning, you don't abandon your emotional center every time discomfort appears. You don't overcorrect every silence. You don't assume distance always means loss. Now, one of the most important dynamics in any relationship is communication overload. When someone is trying to address too many issues at once, too many concerns, too many corrections, too many emotional demands, it can overwhelm the other person. Not because the concerns are invalid, but because the structure of communication matters. Human attention is sequential, not infinite. If everything becomes urgent, nothing gets processed deeply. So instead of addressing 10 emotional concerns at the same time, real progress often comes from isolating one thing clearly. One behavior, one adjustment, one shared understanding. For example, instead of expressing everything as a bundle of frustration, clarity sounds more like, "This is the one thing that matters to me right now." That creates focus. It creates progress. It creates clarity instead of emotional noise. And when people can actually succeed at one change, confidence builds. When confidence builds, willingness to improve increases. When willingness increases, emotional safety increases. And that is where real behavioral change happens, not through pressure, but through clarity and reinforcement. There is also something important about reinforcement itself. When someone makes an effort to adjust, even slightly, acknowledging that effort matters. Because humans don't repeat behavior they feel goes unnoticed. They repeat behavior that feels recognized, effective, and successful. So in healthy dynamics, progress is not only about pointing out what is missing, it is also about reinforcing what is working. Now, zooming out from all of this, there is a bigger emotional truth underneath everything. If you are constantly in a state of anxiety, over-explaining, over-giving, or over-chasing clarity, the relationship stops feeling like connection and starts feeling like pressure. And pressure, even when it comes from love, can create distance. On the other hand, when there is calm, clarity, emotional grounding, and self-respect, the dynamic changes. Not because you are playing games, not because you are withholding love, but because you are no longer abandoning yourself in order to secure someone else's presence. And ironically, that is often what makes presence more likely to return in a stable way. Because people are naturally drawn to emotional stability. They are drawn to clarity. They are drawn to spaces that feel grounded rather than reactive. So the focus is not on controlling someone's behavior. The focus is on controlling your emotional center. How you respond. How you communicate, how you interpret silence, how you hold your boundaries without panic. Because relationships don't just reflect how much you care about someone else, they also reflect how much you understand and regulate yourself in emotionally uncertain moments. And when that shifts, everything else begins to shift with it. Remember that for your relationships to change, you need to change. Okay, have a beautiful day.